what you talked about was your mom having had breast cancer and the way that it was treated and the way that it was not necessarily spoken about, and how that how you encountered that, and so can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's, that one's still very difficult. First, my background, I'm Caribbean, and I come from also a very religious family. And in those two things, that means that you kind of keep your business, and you don't really talk about it, including with your own kids, and that you just pray about it and you leave it there. And while I do believe that faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen, I do think you've got to talk about some things. My mother just told me she had to have a procedure. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to drive you to the hospital for this procedure. But she wouldn't tell me what the procedure was. And I'm literally sitting outside a hospital, and my mother is having a lumpectomy. I have no idea. Sitting in my car waiting for her to have a procedure that I don't know what the procedure is. And I'm calling around. I actually wind up calling one of her sisters in the Caribbean because I said maybe she might know. And that's how I finally found out that my mother was upstairs. My mother has breast cancer. And so I go into the hospital, I use her name, and I finally find her, and we never talk about it.
Mm.
She's like, we will not use the C word. God's got me. And that's it. That is it. That's the whole conversation. There's no follow up. That's not the way it goes.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a few years later, my mother's starting to have difficulties walking. And even then, I'm going, Mom, why can't you walk? Have you gone to the doctor? And she says, well, my doctor's taken blood work, which I thought was kind of crazy because if you can't walk, I would think there would be other testing that might be needed. But she'd had the same doctor for 30 years and trusted that doctor. And he said, blood work. And 6 months later, she's continuing. Um, I actually, the other night, came across a video that I'd taken of her. And I'm talking to my sister and I'm going, look, mommy can't walk. She's pretending she can walk, but she can't walk.
Mm.
And finally, the night of my aunt's funeral, like I had to give her a cane. She couldn't walk. And I told her then, I said, Mom, I'm taking you to the emergency room. And she said to me one more time, I'm waiting for my doctor because he's run another round of blood work. And I just like, who is this doctor?
So she said she had this doctor's appointment that she wanted me to take her to, so I did. And she insisted on a wheelchair, which is very unlike my mother. So I'm like, okay, let me go get the wheelchair, but I don't know what's going on. So I'm thinking that she's just like giving me a hard time, honestly. And so I get the wheelchair, I bring her in, we go upstairs, we walk into the room, the clinic at the hospital. It's the oncology department. And so I'm looking at her and she's pretty much ignoring my
Hmm.
glance, right? My questions, my eyes. So we go into the room and the doctor is holding up some imaging. And the doctor says, okay, Matilda, so this is happening. And as you know, and as we've talked about, there's nothing else we can do. It was too far. And he showed, what had been going on with this cancer that she had, which is bladder cancer. And that is how I learned that my mother was dying
Wow.
in that room. And I'm sitting there and the doctor's looking at me and he goes, did you know? And I'm like, and I'm looking at my mother like, no, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And we left and she didn't want to talk about it.
No.
It was a silent ride home.
I know that. I know that ride. I know that ride.
There was a silent ride about that topic. We talked about all kinds of other shit, but that topic
Hmm.
did not come up.
And then realizing some balls are going to drop, and it's okay that they drop. I think that's the other part of being a strong Black woman. You don't want anything to drop, and sometimes they just have to drop,
Yeah,
and it will be okay.
because sometimes the thing that drops is us.
Right. And so I think that's been a harder lesson for me to say it's okay to let some things drop because if not, you're going to be the one that drops. And I'm still learning that lesson in complete honesty and transparency around it. Um, and so I am grateful for the team I have here. They also motivate me. So I will say the other thing is that having something that work that you love and that you're passionate about also helps you get through some difficult times, because I don't know if I didn't have a daughter who I loved and was such a support system and was like a drill sergeant with me. I was the worst thing in the world as a mother is to hear the things that you used to tell your child come
Girl.
back at you. One funny story, I had medication I was supposed to take, every 4 hours, including at 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning. And I had to write it down so we could stay on point. And she loves me so much. She was getting up at 2 or 4 o'clock. And one point she came and she goes, I tried to trust you to get up on your own to take your medication. And I see I can't trust you. So I'm going to have to stay on top of you. And I was like, oh my God, I remember those
The
words.
tables have turned. And
I
she's stepping into that so easily.
was like, leave me alone, close my door. But on my teenage self, whatever. I don't like her. I too had gone through other health issues and kept it quiet based on my upbringing of being strong and quiet and private and just leave it on the altar. And that's only God needs to know your business. And I too had prescribed to that until this journey, because I saw that I needed to talk about it. I needed to show my daughter a different path. And thank you for sharing your story, because it also helps me to see that I'm not the only daughter who's gone through that story. But we can't change our parents' upbringing. And again, I don't want to make them wrong. It was the right thing for them. It was the right thing for
Yeah.
them. So it's not about making them wrong, because it is a personal journey, but it is about allowing us to think about how we do things differently and how we can use these moments to be purposeful and share and be a testimony to someone else.
Yeah. And to understand that there are certain things that go from one generation to the next, and we have the ability
Stop it.
to stop it and to make mindful and conscious decisions about what we're going to bring forward
Yep.
and what we're going to leave behind. Like, we are the doorway
Yes.
between those experiences of our ancestors
Hmm.
and, what we're sharing. And what I'm happy about, even in these small decisions, is that your daughter will have a different experience in her life. My daughter will have a different experience in her life because of the choices that we've made. And I think that's important.